We have to keep up this intense pressure on the border criminals.
For the last 15 years, Janet Napolitano has been among the most influential figures in immigration, and she's held some of the most paradoxical views. As the Democratic governor of Arizona, she deployed the National Guard to the border, and as President Obama's first Secretary of Homeland Security, she removed record numbers of immigrants from the country. But she also created Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, the landmark policy that protects dreamers from deportation. Now she's the president of the University of California, and she's in the center of the immigration debate again for her efforts to protect undocumented students.
Janet Napolitano will tell you that her positions on immigration have always been consistent. It's the debate around her that's changed. She's criticized Donald Trump's border wall, and as president of the UC system, she's working to foster relationships south of the border, the reason for her trip to Mexico.
I stand before you today as someone who believes that knowledge and ideas are borderless. We can rise together as equal partners, those of us in California side by side with those of us in Mexico.
When it comes to her time in the Obama administration, Napolitano would rather be remembered as protector than enforcer. Is there a particular policy or achievement from your time at DHS that you're especially proud of?
You know, I think DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and setting up that whole program.
Napolitano has vowed to protect and support dreamers on UC campuses. But for many students, that hasn't been enough to make up for her past.
A lot of my friends that were at the Berkeley campus that couldn't be part of this experience with me because of legal issues around undocumented problems.
It is tragic that mobility gets limited in that way.
How do you and your undocumented friends feel about Janet Napolitano as the president of the UC system?
It was really disheartening to know that somebody who we all know has done some terrible things to families, especially immigrant families, and to know that she's in charge of us is really scary.
Part of my job at the Department of Homeland Security was to enforce the immigration law. What we tried to do was to do it smartly and intelligently, and to put priorities on the enforcement, to enact DACA, to advocate for comprehensive immigration reform.
Is there anything about your time at DHS that, in retrospect, you would have done differently?
It took us a while to get our arms around immigration enforcement and to recognize that there were no priorities instituted in ICE in terms of who should you be focused on, who should be deported. That was a difficult message to send to our ICE agents, and not sure we got it out to the fingertips of every ICE agent out there. Well, we certainly tried.
Do you mean then that in retrospect you feel DHS under your leadership may have deported people that you maybe think shouldn't have been deported?
Yes, were there some people deported who didn't fall within those priorities? There probably were. But as we got our arms around ICE and began institutionalizing those priorities, those became fewer and fewer.
The stepping up of enforcement, immigration enforcement, during your time at DHS, as I understand it, was something of a first step to satisfy Republican demands in order to achieve immigration reform. But that reform never came. Do you look at that calculation differently now?
Yeah, I don't think that was the calculation. I think that the notion that there was some kind of mega strategy that we're going to show we're tough on enforcement in order to persuade them that they could do immigration reform, that was not the calculation.
That's the narrative that's out there. It's interesting to me that that was not your perception.
Yeah, I know it's the narrative, but sometimes narratives and reality don't quite match, do they?